Disasters can strike anywhere at any time, with or without warning. Getting you and your family through a disaster can dramatically be improved by having a basic disaster supply kit in your home and a couple of other locations too. What I'm going to talk about here is what FEMA recommends a basic disaster supply kit should have in it, how to maintain it, and those places where you should keep one. First, let's start out with what should go in your kit. FEMA recommends a basic emergency supply kit should include the following items. Water. You should have a gallon of water per person per day to last up to 3 days. Now this is both for drinking and for sanitation purposes. Food. You should have at least a 3-day supply of non-perishable food items. Battery-powered or hand-crank radios are also a necessity, as well as an NOAA weather radio with the tone alerts and extra batteries for both of them. A flashlight with extra batteries, a first aid kit, a whistle to signal for help, and a dust mask to filter out contaminated air, as well as plastic sheeting and duct tape that will assist you in sheltering in place if the need arises. Moist towelettes and garbage bags and plastic ties for personal sanitation purposes, and a wrench or pliers to turn off your utilities. And you should also know where and how to turn off your utilities in your home. A manual can opener for food, local maps with emergency services located and marked clearly on there, a cell phone with chargers, an inverter or a solar charger to keep that communication line up and running. And now the next thing I'm going to talk about is how to maintain your kit. Now just as important as putting your supplies together is maintaining them so they're safe to use when they're needed. You can't just fire and forget on this one. You need to make sure that you keep this kit ready to go at all times. And here's some tips to keep your supplies ready and in good condition. Keep canned food in a cool and dry place. Store any box food that you have in tightly closed plastic or metal containers to protect them from pests and extend their shelf life. Throw out any canned good that becomes swollen, dented, or corroded. And use foods before they go bad and replace them with fresh supplies. You should place new items to the back of the storage area and older ones to the front to allow you to keep better track of this. You should also change stored food and water supplies about every 6 months. And be sure to write the date you stored in all containers so you can remember when it was that you last changed these items out. You should also rethink your needs every year and update your kit as your family's needs change. For example, you may have to add new medications to them or take some away. Your kids may start out as babies, they're growing up, take out diapers, add things like that. New additions to your family you'll need to take into account, things along those lines. You should also keep all your items in airtight plastic bags and put your entire disaster supplies kit in 1 or 2 easy to carry containers, such as unused trash cans, a camping backpack, or a duffel bag, whatever you happen to have, so that you can pick up this thing and go at a moment's notice. The last thing I want to go over here is how to store your kit. Since you don't know where you might be when a disaster strikes, I'm going to go over 3 different places where you should have an emergency supply kit kept. Your disaster supplies kit should contain essentials food, water, and supplies that could last for up to 3 days. When you're at home, or your kit for at home, keep this kit in a designated place and have it ready in case you need to leave your home quickly. That's why I suggested putting it in a bag or something relatively easy to carry. Also, make sure your whole family knows where the kit is kept. So in case you're not there, they know where it is and can get access to it in case that emergency does come up. Additionally, you may want to consider having supplies for sheltering there for up to 2 weeks. It's more on the safe side because you never know when those emergency services are going to be able to get to you or how long you're going to have to stay there before things are restored back to normal. Now at work, you need to be prepared to be sheltered there for at least 24 hours. And make sure you have food and water and other necessities like medicines in your kit. And also, be sure you have comfortable walking shoes at your workplace in case an evacuation requires you to walk a long distance. Your kit should also be in one container and ready to grab and go in case you need to be evacuated from your workplace, something similar to what we talked about also for your home kit. Now your vehicle should also have a kit of its own in case you're stranded. You should keep a bit of emergency supplies, something like this. Jumper cables, for example, every car should have some flashlights and extra batteries, a first aid kit, and necessary medications in case you're away from home for a prolonged period of time. You should also have food items containing proteins such as nuts and energy bars, and canned fruit, and a portable can opener for opening those things up. You should also have water for each person and pet in your car, that's routinely in your car. You should also have an AFM radio so you can listen to traffic reports and emergency messages. Try to get something that is not tied to the battery of your car in case that you happen to have a dead battery. You need to have access to those types of emergency messages that come out. You should also keep cat litter or sand for better tire traction, especially in winter conditions, as that can come in awful handy. A shovel also for digging yourself out in case you get stuck in places where digging out will be necessary. An ice scraper, that's pretty much self-explanatory. And you should have warm clothes, gloves, hats, sturdy boots, jacket, and an extra change of clothes. You should also keep blankets or sleeping bags in your car, especially if you're going to be traveling, because you never know where you can end up getting stuck at. You see those kinds of stories on the news all the time, especially during the winter months. Now, you may need to survive on your own after an emergency. This means you need to have your own food, water, and other supplies in sufficient quantity to last for at least 72 hours. Local officials and relief workers will get on the scene after a disaster, but they can't reach everybody immediately. You could get help, or you could be the one to get help in hours, or it might take days. So give yourself the best chance possible by doing these simple few things to prepare yourself and your family to give them the best chance of getting through this in one piece.